Hey y'all, I went to this auction recently that could only be described as epic. So I got to show y'all what I got. Let's go ahead and jump in.
The easiest way to kind of show the highlights is going to be to go through by category by just grouping tools together. So pretty cool stuff here. These are obviously layout tools and levels. This one right here is actually from England. And so when I look at people's collections, especially lifetime collections, I like to try and think about, where they might have been or what their interests may have been. And there were a number of made in England tools in this gentleman's collection. And this is a smaller Stanley level. I'm sure that won't have any trouble selling. And then this is a late reproduction, odd job, and it's missing parts, which is odd because the originals are often missing parts, but it's less common for those older ones. And then a smaller bevel gauge. I'm pretty sure this was made by Stanley, but it was made for a hardware company, and pretty cool little things. I like these little bevel gauges like this. I'm probably going to keep that one. And a fold up ruler that was actually made in Holland, which I thought was kind of interesting. And some smaller levels. One of these is marked as a Stanley. It is missing the screw up top, but these are kind of cool little dudes. And then this one also made in England, pretty large square. I spoke with one of the foremost experts on these squares, which is Eric Benson, and he is also on YouTube, and I highly encourage y'all to check him out. And here we go with some miniature planes, small planes here. Of course, got the little finger plane there. I'm pretty sure that one's a Miller's Falls. And then this one, most likely made by Sargent. Could be Sargent, could be Craftsman, another Stanley. Got these little 75s, the little rabbit planes. And I have not seen one of these with everything stripped off the side like that. I think maybe a previous owner may have done that, because this is what I'm used to seeing them look like. If you've seen one like this before, let me know in the comments. And then I picked this one up. This is obviously part of a shoulder plane. And I picked this one up mainly for this part right here, just because it's so commonly missing, or usually broken actually. And so I picked that up. This was all that was there, so obviously got it for parts. And then this one was pretty interesting. And Stanley actually made something similar to this. Actually, I don't think this is a factory production. I think this is somebody took a squirrel tail and cut the front of it off, I think is what happened. But if you know different, if that looks normal to you, by all means, let me know in the comments if you think that that's legit. And then this one is probably my favorite out of the whole group. And this is that little 100.5. It's the one that's got the curved sole. And this one I'm still debating on. I may hold on to it, may sell it. Really not sure. And last but not least, it's not in the video, but I did pick up finally a V logo, just regular squirrel tail. And I didn't have one of those in my V logo collection, so I am going to go ahead and hold on to that one, much to the chagrin of some of my patrons who I'm sure would have been happy to buy that from me. I'm not as much into saws as I am into hand planes, of course. It's just plain fun, not just saw fun or just sawing fun. But I do have a certain affinity for these smaller back saws like this. And so I did pick this one up in a lot with 3 other saws. A couple of them were miter saws. Just barely missed a lot that had a trip clamp still on one of the miter saws that I really should have noticed and I really should have bought, and went entirely too cheap. But such is life. And then this is actually an Atkins filer, and I'm being honest, if I'm being honest, I really don't know that much about them, but it's really old, as you can see from the patent dates there. And I talked to Bob Page of Loon Lake Toolworks on this. Check him out, by the way. And he told me that it is complete and that comps on these they do okay on eBay. And of course, this one will be for sale, partly because I don't know anything about it, and partly because I'm really not that much into saws. But speaking of Bob Page, let me show you real quick one saw that I did pick up and ended up selling to him. And so kudos to Bob for educating me on that one and for having the opportunity to buy it from me. The rabbit planes. No one collects planes for very long and doesn't end up with a bunch of number 78s. And the most interesting thing to note about these, let me back up, not just rabbit planes, also a dado plane and weather stripping. But the interesting thing to me was he had all of these rabbit planes. This is not even close to all of them, and not a single depth stop on any of them. He had a number of fences, a number of loose fences, and then a plane or two with the fence still on it, but not a single depth stop. How weird is that? And then this is, of course, a number 39. This is that half inch. It's a dado plane, if you're, just in case you're not familiar with that. And this is 100% complete. It's got both spurs. It's got all of the screws that go to those. It's got the correct blade. I mean, this thing is really, really nice. And this is going to make a nice addition to someone's collection when the time is right. And then, as I mentioned, this is a little weather stripping plane, just the single blade in there. It does have the depth stop, which is kind of nice. So pretty legit there. Next up are some more specialty planes and scraper planes. So of course the number 12, this one is in pretty decent condition. And the number 81, another decent scraper there. This one I'm going to call it a specialty plane just because it's a 140. I mean, it could fall into the block plane category or here. But of course with the removable side plate, this is 100% complete and it will be sold as such. And then the little 95 little side rabbet there for cleaning up edges. So it does have a little bit of pitting there. I might see if I can find a cleaner body than that. But as many of y'all know, these blades and really especially those lever caps are pretty hard to find. So I'm going to sell this one as a complete unit after I replace that sole. The old tongue and groove right here, as is commonly the case. This one is running a number 45 blade in there because the original blades just seem so hard to find. But this one on the other side, that is actually the original blade there. So at least it's got that going for it. The spoke shaves. I mean, good Lord, look at this. This is probably about half of what was in that box. But you got your wooden spoke shaves. You got your old school Stanley spoke shaves. I've actually already sold a couple of them out of here. And then a couple of these are set aside. But, I mean, look at this just variety of different styles of spoke shaves. The miniature spoke shave, that's a Coons there, although I'm used to seeing those in green. So that one's an old school Stanley there, the number 55 style, if you're not familiar with those. Coons made this one that runs the opposite of that. And I don't know if Stanley made one of these. If you know, let me know in the comments. Or better yet, if you have a copy of that book, the spoke shave book, or if you know where I can get one, let me know that as well. And then this is actually one of my favorite spoke shaves right here, the number 67, the Universal. And unfortunately, this one is missing the fence and also the other foot or the other heel, whatever you want to call it, that can go there. Came with a round and a flat. And that's just as is, but still good for parts. And then this one, kind of a, I guess, no name or other manufacturer. And last and certainly not least, the old Miller's Falls cigar shave. And as is commonly the case, this one is missing the original blade. So probably going to have to get with a machinist, maybe Mike Muscat or somebody, and see about getting a reproduction blade made for that. I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention the old scrub planes. Got two of them, got the 40 and the 40.5. Unfortunately, the tote is busted and repaired on the 40, but on the 40.5, this one is actually in pretty decent shape. So pretty nice plane there. I guess it's got little marks on the bottom, but nothing that'll hurt operation. So pretty legit little pair of scrub planes there. I'm going to run through some miscellaneous tools real quick. Have this little ECE, if y'all are familiar with those, made in Germany. Cool little plane there. Number 80s, there were actually 4 of these. Don't need to show you all 4 of them. They weren't all as pretty as this one, but pretty cool stuff there. 3 Stanleys, 1 Coons. And then there were a number of these little wrenches, especially a handful of these little miniatures. I'm going to call it a miniature. And that was kind of cool. I only know a couple people that actually collect stuff like that, but they came in a lot with some other stuff. So what was I going to do? As far as hand planes go, and specifically long planes, first, let me show y'all. This was the situation with block planes and bench planes. Let me show you that real quick. Now, I didn't win all those. They had split them into the separate lots. But I got the privilege, if you will, but I got the honor of being able to go through and kind of pick the lots that I wanted to put in an offer on, which was pretty legit, and that's what I ended up getting. But as far as long planes go, I did get these because they were in another lot, and did get this nice EC Stearns jointer fence, and that'll make a nice addition to someone's collection. But this Ohio number 08, which unfortunately has a Stanley tote on it, somehow they got it to fit on there, but this thing is a pretty decent jointer, of course. And then this is a late model record, number 7. But, you know, a couple long planes, nothing wrong with that. The gentleman also had a whole box full of draw knives. And again, this is only about half of them. I can only show you all so many. Otherwise, this video will be 2 hours long. But whenever I have draw knives, I never have any trouble selling those. There was one Scorp in there as well. And then there was this tool, which, if I'm being honest, I don't even know what this is. Some kind of special rasp or something. If you know what this is, let me know in the comments, or let me know where I can look up to learn more about it. And then this one is just a beast of a draw knife. I mean, look at how big that blade is. And I don't know if this was shop built or what, but this thing is, you can tell it's pretty stout. This thing will do the job. And then this little miniature one, kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. There are a couple of these, which I've always thought those were kind of cool. I guess maybe for working smaller boards or something. And then this was one of 2 folding draw knives, and it has this cut in here. I've never known if that's factory or if that was user made, but I have seen 2 of them, which makes me think that maybe there was some manufacturer out there that was making them like that on purpose. And then I think this might be actually the mother of all draw knives. I mean, talk about the elephant in the room. I mean, look at the size of that thing. Look at the size of that blade. And it's actually marked Bell Systems. So I don't know if maybe this was in a Bell Systems toolbox at one time, but there's a comp for this thing on eBay for 180 bucks is what they're asking. I don't think it's worth that. I definitely think it's worth more than the 59 that maybe the original owner, or the last owner I should say, paid for it. But pretty legit, pretty stout draw knife there. When it comes to conversations about tools, I can usually hold my own. For example, I know this is a multi-tool. It's got all the different bits in the bottom of it there when you screw that off. And this one's actually really, really old. It's patented from like the 1860s or something crazy like that. But very unique multi-tool there. And then this is, of course, a 3-way screwdriver. And I feel like I really should know what this is, but unfortunately I don't. So once again, I'm going to need y'all in the comments to let me know what this thing is. Just to give me a timestamp and let me know what the heck that, some kind of special file or rasp or something, what that is. And same thing with this, some type of rake or something. So this is my what's it section of the video for these 2 particular tools. I have no idea what those are. Oh, let me get one more add-on for a what's it. I really think that this is probably some type of vintage or really old antique scale is what I think this is. Just the way that it acts, behaves, looks, whatever. But if you know something different, if you've seen something like this before and you know what that is, and maybe if it's, especially if it's not a scale, let me know. But this thing was in the previous owner's personal collection. So I have a feeling it's something pretty special. And for our grand finale, we have none other than not 1, but 2 number 2 size planes. This was quite a catch as far as I'm concerned. So even though these may end up being part, well, one of them for sure a parts plane, even though they both have their issues, obviously still well worth what I gave for the lot. So this one's got a little ding there on the leading edge of the lever cap. And the knob has certainly seen better days. If you can, I don't know if you can, oh, there you go. And then the tote, of course, is broken. But again, got some decent parts there. And the body sure seems like it's in pretty decent shape. This is a bit of a heartbreaker. So you got the old Bedrock 602 looking pretty decent there. Well, until you look at that side. And it has the standard crack there that emanates from the mouth. But just like that other number 2 size, this one does have at least a little bit of potential. I mean, of course, the tote could be repaired. The knob is actually in pretty decent shape there. And the frog itself, I'm sure would be fine. The lever cap, of course, is going to need to head up to New York and get a little repair. But other than that, I mean, it's got some pretty decent bones. And for that matter, I could probably get that repaired as well. And maybe that would make a decent sole for somebody who is looking for a better one than what they have currently. But yeah, a little number 2 and a number 602. Sure can't beat that. I never want to turn these videos into an infomercial for just plain fun, and especially not for Patreon. However, I am just going to throw this out there. A lot of these tools are going to end up being sold to JPF patrons. So if you've ever thought about joining, now would be a really great time, because not only do you get to be among the first to see these and the first to get a chance to buy them, but you also get a discount. So $2 a month will get you 5% off. $5 a month will get you 10% off. So again, if you've ever thought about joining the JPF Patreon, now might be the time. And hey, if you made it to this point, the deep end of the video, and you're still here, do me a favor, give me a comment and let me know which one was your favorite. Let me know which one you thought was the coolest tool that I picked up at this auction.
All right. Anybody get the business started? Give me 500. Anybody go 500, go 500, never go 5, 10 here to the bone, 10, better bone, 10, better get the bone, 10, 10, better get the bone, 10, well, 5 here to the bone, 5,